Hello, everybody. It's Gareth here from Paris Technologies. And today I'd like to show you how we can use Power Excel to make retail planning really nice and simple. So let's jump right in. Share my screen. So the first thing we might want to do is in any kind of planning is let's plan our P&L or profitability. And in our case, in our model, I've got 10 stores and I've split them into regions, north, south, east, and west. And I've got a head office and a distribution center. I want to plan this business. So first of all, I'm in 2025. I've got 3 months of actuals and I want to plan 9 months of forecast. That's quite common. And of course, what I could do is I could just start typing in here. No problem. It's an Excel template. It's going to load. As I type, it's going to load the data into the database in the cloud. And I'm going to have access to all of that data centrally. But on top of that, I can actually leverage any kind of data that was in the model before. So I can, for example, use last year's data and I can populate my sales with last year plus 3%. I have all the data that I've just populated, so I can use the sales and I can just say, well, let's just make my cost of sales 65%. And as I'm doing this data is getting into the database. So it doesn't live here in Excel. I can delete it and ask for it back, and it's going straight into the central database, and I can get it back again. Store staff, maybe I want to say something like last year even, and I want a nice even distribution. I don't want it seasonal. And potentially my occupancy costs, I can use another KPI. Maybe I know my square feet, and it's a factor of my square feet. So let's just use that. And maybe for my store depreciation, I know what it's going to be, and I can just populate a single number all the way. And there we go. Nice and easy and simple. But on top of that, I can actually turn on some additional functionality that I'd like to show you. So for example, let's say here, you can see I have 2,500 square feet and my sales density, which is my annual sales divided by my square feet, is 160. Now let's say I get some additional space from my landlord and I'm able to increase my store size. When I do that, you'll see my sales density drops. But let's say I believe that I can maintain that sales density. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually override the formula with something else. And what you'll notice is it now changes the sales and it pushes those sales up. And let's say I think, okay, well, for Christmas, I'm obviously going to do better in that same space. So I push that up. Here now you can see I had originally calculated my cost of sales and the margin is changing. No problem. I can just do the same with the margin. Maybe here I believe I'm going to get a 40% margin. And it's going to populate everything. And none of this data lives in Excel. Even after all that hard work, just delete a piece of it, ask for it back. And as I'm manipulating these KPIs and as I'm driving this business, it's loading it into the cloud and it's giving it to us centrally so that while I'm planning store 1, a colleague is planning store 10, another manager's planning store 6, and we can share the work out. It's really powerful. All right, so in this model, I've already planned all these other stores out for you. So we have a nice data set, and we can get to total stores, no problem, easy. All right, once we've done all our planning, maybe we want to do a sort of a year-on-year comparison for each store. So here, I'm just using a pivot table. I'm just bringing my stores into the columns, and I'm looking at last year, this year. I'm looking at the variance in dollars and the variance percent. And this is really powerful look at my store, and I can look at each one individually, and I can look at total stores together. Again, none of this is calculated in Excel. It's all coming directly from the model pre-calculated. And that's really powerful because it saves me a lot of time. I don't have to maintain anything in Excel. And I know that the calculation is consistent year on year, month on month, store on store, which is really powerful, especially if you're going to try and make a decision based on a KPI. There's always a risk in Excel that there's an error in the calculation and you make a bad decision. So very simple. I can see this is what I want to see. My sales are growing at 9.8%. I'm improving my margin percent, so my gross margin is increasing higher than that. My costs are somewhat under control. probably I want to go back and re-look at this because I'm growing my gross margin by 11%, but only my store contribution by 8%. Potentially, I've got a problem with my costs. I need to be a little bit more accurate here. And I can see my square feet has grown and my FTEs have stayed the same. And I can pull that all the way across, look at my total stores, and maybe here I'm seeing I'm growing my total store volumes by 2.9%. My margins are improving, which is great. My costs are not under control. So, or sorry, they are in this particular case, 3.2% for the overall store. So therefore, my store contribution is going up to 4% growth, which is great. Look at my FTEs. I need another 4 FTEs by the end of the year. I've got another 500 square feet by the end of the year, which is great. And I'm maintaining my average sales density. All of these formulas are calculated for me in the cloud and coming back and giving me these answers really quickly. All right, so that's great. But as we know, retail's not a monthly business or an annual business. It's a weekly and a daily business. So how do we take this type of information and go down? Well, just like you would in Excel, I'm going to just consider each month and I'm going to split them by week. Most retailers are 4-4-5. So here I'm showing you January 4, February 4 weeks, and March 5, and then repeated all the way to December. And then we look at what happened in the past and we decide how we're going to split each of these months out, right? Once we've done that, our model is going to use that as an input, and it's going to automatically break our stores into weeks for us. And again, every store is done and pre-completed for us. I can just pick any store and I'm going to get my answers back. And all of this stuff is automatically connected up, and it gives me the answer in every template, no matter what. So let's just double check that. Let's go to the store one, and I'm going to change some of the data here. So I've got 465. Let's just bounce back to store one's planning. We're looking at store one, 465. Let's just, for example, put a big number in here. Gives me 915. Come back here. Ask for the data from the database. And I'm going to get that big number 915 here. And it's split all by week. All easy, done, simple, in the cloud. And I don't have to worry about any of the formulas breaking or anything like that. I know there's an issue. Come back. Put that to 50. And it's all good. It flows all the way through. We're going to get the data back here. All right. Once we have our weekly plan, potentially we want to drive our sales on a daily basis. We want to make sure everybody's focused every single day of the week on achieving the target. So we're going to go the next level down. We're going to pick a certain week. Here's the June weeks. And we're going to say, well, of that week, how do I want to achieve Monday? How do I want to achieve Tuesday? What do I want to get? And this, in this particular model, I'm doing it for the whole retail chain. This can be done by region. This can be done by individual store. And it can be all maintained and held together very nicely and quickly. With something like that, I'm going to very quickly be able to bounce down to something like this, which is I have a target for store one. I'm looking at week 21, and my target is 9981. Let's just double check that. Week 21. Over here, sorry. 9981. Perfect. How am I going to achieve it? Based on the percentages I've given myself, I want to achieve it like that. And then as we start trading, at the end of the day, all I need is for the store manager to just open up their laptop or open up their cell phone and just type a number in. Very simple technology. I don't have to wait for the POS machine to update. I don't need to pull some text files and upload them into my planning system. I just need someone to type something in on their phone. I have the number. I can be sitting centrally at home. I can be sitting on the beach. I know now what we achieved for Wednesday. I have an idea of how the week is looking against last year, against my target. And if I am the owner of the business, potentially I'm going to be sitting even higher level than that. And I'm going to be saying, well, for week 21 on Wednesday, how did the North region do? How did the South region do? East, West? Did I achieve Wednesday? Have I made the Wednesday to for the week to date? I was hoping to achieve 26,000. I've actually achieved 29,000. We like 3,000 up on last year, 2,800 up on the forecast. And I really have this business well under control. I know where all my problems are. I know who to contact. I know how to drive this business to success. Thanks for watching.